Hey everyone, and welcome to Conquer the Mirror Demon. My name is Tanja Andersen, and I am your host. And today we have an expert, a very amazing expert, and her name is Dr. Mick Howard. Welcome, my friend.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm very happy to be here.
You're most welcome. You're most welcome. So, who is Dr. Mick Howard? She will share about short who she is. What I would like to share is why did I pick her? Why her in this summit? When I saw her home webpage, she was sharing about she have been through like loss in the health um often been in like what do you call like what is the word cycle violence and emotions and sexual abuse as a child, and healing over dozen of illness. And it really touched my heart around how she really give it forward and sharing what she have been through and how she have gone through it, and because she's so needed in this world as her voice to really be shared there, why it's so important to give it a voice around our surviving around violence we have experienced, or emotional and sexual abuse as a child, or maybe also as an adult, as I have been through. So she is the voice to really be here on this earth in the summit to really unlock you in what you get to really break through in your next step of healing, whatever that's in your body, in awareness or not, that's in hiding. So share a little bit about who are you, Dr. Mick?
I am a doctor of transpersonal psychology and a holistic nutritional chef and a best-selling author. And I came to this work, as you were saying, as someone who has survived sexual, physical, and emotional abuse. I also had major accidents, like I drowned when I was a child, and then I was struck by lightning almost 9 years ago. And then I've been divorced, and I've been cheated on, and just had all these narcissistically abusive relationships. And I have been through so much, and my whole life has been about overcoming that and turning it around and healing, and then helping others with the message that you can heal. You don't have to sit in the pain. You don't have to sit in the thoughts of suicide and not wanting to be here. That you can get to the other side of that, and you can just create a life you love and live in that space. Create your own world to be the way you want it to be. And that's the most empowering thing I think that abuse survivors can do for themselves, because our identity gets squashed, especially with emotional abuse. I mean, all of it does, but emotional abuse is so insidious, narcissistic abuse. So, yeah.
Amazing. And the topic Mick and I will talk about today, or Mick will share about, where we go deep into, is the process of unhealing emotions in the body for freedom from trauma and illness. That is the topic we will talk about today. And how did you get into the work of helping women with abuse history, healing critical illness? Critical illness.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I had over a dozen illnesses. And so I had irritable bowel syndrome and ulcers and migraines and endometriosis. And I mean, just the list went on. And I didn't understand at the time, because this is almost 30 years ago. I was in my 20s, and I didn't understand at the time that there was a major connection, because they weren't even talking about it back then, even though it had been discovered and science was making progress in understanding the effects of emotions on the physical body. There was a whole field of science opening up called psychoneuroimmunology. And when I found that, it was Dr. Joan Borisenko. I started reading her books, and they changed my life and changed the way that I looked at how my body was responding to everything, from pharmaceutical drugs to the Western medical care. And then when I started to learn that holistic medicine started first by going to a chiropractor, and she sent me to a nutritionist. And then I started to learn about the effects of nutrition on the body and how all these toxins I was swallowing every single day were also contributing to my illnesses. So I was able to remove all of those first and completely change my diet, but I still was spinning in massive depression and horrible anxiety. And I thought, well, these books I'm reading about psychoneuroimmunology, there's really something to this. And that's when I started to look for ways that I could heal that. And that really, to me, became the core of the work that I do. Even though I do the nutritional piece as well, it's just, if you don't heal the emotional impact that this has had on your body, that you'll stay at this level of anxiety or level of depression. You may get exponentially better, don't get me wrong. I mean, talk therapy, that helps so much. But Western medicine, I'm super, super sensitive to that. I mean, I'm an empath and a sensitive, so most of us have sensitive bodies, and we just can't handle all of the toxins that are in the environment or the emotional toxicity. And I think that's the root of where that comes from, is the emotional toxicity, and learning to release that from the energy system, which is really the only permanent part of you. That is what helps the physical body, because it's all one thing. The mental, the emotional, the physical, and the energetic / spiritual bodies are all one thing. But at the root of it all is the energy system. And that's where I ended up working as in that part of the body to help the whole system.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
It's like,
so it's a really cutting edge. It's just like, it's way ahead of its time. But I think at some point it's going to get to where energy medicine and energy diagnostics are going to be a big part of medicine. So I think it'll take a long time, because there's a lot of pushback, on natural means of healing.
True. And it's so amazing what you said. Like, what is coming up with me is like, I'm really also big believer on the natural wave of energy, because as I see, we are coming from nature, and nature is all about energy. Like the trees, the nature, the animals, is all about energies. So I really also believe, like, when you go into forest bathing, a continual forest, there is so much healing that is happening in silence, and we have no clue like how much that is happening in the energy in like hugging trees. As I have used sometimes, really like letting go of something I get to let go of, really like learn how to connect, how to be grounded, was hugging a tree that we learned, like, how can I learn that? I learned from a tree because tree habits. So there's just what is coming up in me. So around this, like when I was little kids, around 27, I was like really hiding around all my emotions. My emotion was very like huge, big. And a lot of people did not really share about it, like really vulnerable how it was with no limitations. So how did you face your emotion in the past as an empath, and use it as a gift or use it as a power to drive you?
It was an incremental journey, because again, people weren't having these conversations back then. We didn't have online summits. We didn't really have online. I mean, we did in the 90s, but it was just like all advertisements, basically. So energy medicine, everything was still very compartmentalized back in those days. And so energy medicine was over here, and people were talking about energy and spirituality and all of that. And then psychology was over here. And then they were talking about mental and emotional disorders and treatment of those disorders. And then Western medicine's over here. And then there's natural medicine. And there weren't ways of putting them all together. And I think that's the key for today, and how putting all of those pieces together to help an integrated approach to healing, and that the emotions really being at the core of the experience is, I think, one of the most powerful directions that medicine is heading in. And that's where I'm making a contribution at this point, is that. So
amazing. So how does abuse affect the body later in life? When I had that question, I was like, oh, that is interesting question.
Yes, yes, and it's has a cumulative effect. So the Adverse Childhood Experiences Study is the largest public health study ever done, and it has tracked over 17,000 people since the mid-90s at Kaiser Permanente in San Diego, and it's done with the National Institutes of Health, I think, is also part of this as well, our World Health Organization. But at any rate, they have found an indelible link between what happened to you as a child and how your body responds later in life. One of the things that happens when you grow up in an abusive environment is that you have cortisol and adrenaline. Those two hormones are just constantly activated because you're always wondering, what's going to happen next? What am I going to be in trouble for now? Am I going to be hit again? Am I going to be, what's going to happen? But you just know something's going to happen. So you're hypervigilant. And so you're releasing so much of these two hormones that they eventually become toxic to the body over time, and they weaken the immune system. Now, in the work that I have studied in transpersonal psychology, the immune system is the second center of the human energy system in the abdominal part of the body. And it's also your inner child. That's the archetype that's associated with it. So, and it's also known as your emotional body. And so your emotional body literally is getting drained over time, just getting drained. So many of us are ending up with digestive illnesses, and then we're loading in toxins into our body that are continuing to break down the body, so that energy leaking that's happening from the emotional experience, the thoughts, the feelings, the beliefs that get entrenched in our systems. When you have a parent who is treating you as though you're unlovable, you're going to believe you are unlovable. You're going to believe you are not good enough. You can never do enough to make them happy. And this happens particularly with narcissistic abuse, because it's the constant criticism, especially for the scapegoat in the family, who is the invisible child, who is constantly being criticized and blamed for everything that goes wrong. And so you internalize that, and you take that in as your reality. And then you look everywhere and you're like, yep, there it is. That's my beliefs they keep getting reinforced over and over and over again with relationships that you keep attracting. And yes. And then, now I love the fact that there's so much information out there and that people are waking up to understanding this. So we're collectively working on this together, and individually, when you do your individual part to work on the collective, you're helping to raise the consciousness. You're helping to heal the problem. A lot of people are just, in upheaval right now. And I think it's just part of the process. You look at your own upheaval that happens when you go into your system to look at, your own responsibility in things, and your own self-care and self-love, and taking care of your inner child and reparenting yourself, and all of these things that come with the experience of healing. So we're in a great time, and I wish I had had this information back then. I mean, there were drips and drabs of it all over the place, and that's where, thank goodness, my reality brought these things to me. And that's so important, I think, because for anybody listening, is that when you make the decision to heal and you listen to summits like this, and you listen to people who've been through these things, and something resonates with you, and you're open, you've made that decision, all these things will come your way. Books, other summits, healers, therapists, coaches, all these people that are here to help you heal, because it takes a team of healers. It's not something
my God. Yeah.
you do on your own. I mean, I had a huge team coming through all of this, and I still have my team. And I add to it as I get to the next level. On the next level, I'll add, another healer who can help me handle that next level I'm going through. So I always say, as long as you're in a body, the fun never stops. You always have an opportunity to heal and grow.
So good. That is so interesting to share that, because there was someone that asked me about, like, with all your crisis saying you have been through, like, what do you call it, suicides, close to take your life, drug rape, abuse, 7 times for violence, and people just like, that is a lot of things and so much more. It's like, how can you face all this trauma and be addicted to violence and be addicted to pain to go to where you are? And it's like, that is a very good question. And you all share that, like, that's so amazing. You said it, like, having a team of healer is like, oh my God, that is so true, because it's not only one thing I have choose in my life. I have choose so many different things to be where I am, to who I am today, like how I work with myself. It's not only, as I see, one healer. You get to have a team of healer for you to really be to the point you say, I chose my past and I own it with so much forgiveness, grace, and love to yourself. So I really love this, just like really wasting it to like have a team of healers, like healers, like, oh, I like that.
Yes, yes. And I think it's particularly really important for empaths and sensitives. I mean, I know so many, I mean, I see people on TikTok and on other social media platforms talking about how much pain they're in. And, they're not coming out of their houses, and they have so much to share, and they have so many talents, skills, and abilities that are just being tamped down still by the abuse they went through. And we need we need these empaths and healers. We need the sensitivity in the world. We need them to be grounded and whole and helping in the ways that they feel, whether they're helping as, they're a singer and they are so terrified of singing because they're terrified of being in the public because they've been told they're not good enough, or they're an artist, or they're, we need your art, we need your love, we need your healing, your abilities in the world. And in order to do that, you do have to go into the darkness. You do have to go into, like you said, the dark emotions.
Yeah.
But I like to think of them, and I reframed emotions a long time ago because I thought it was negative emotions because everybody's running from them.
I was there in the past. I was like, oh, not going to happen.
Well, we're told to. We're put that away. Don't, you're not supposed to get angry, especially for women. You're not supposed to get angry over, we're going to call you the B word, we're going to shut you down. But anger is like such a normal emotion, but it can become toxic to the body.
Oh, yes.
And so releasing that energy from the body is something I help people with. And that's something that's really powerful. And getting that holistic snapshot of the mental, the emotional, and physical, and being able to see it all at once. So you can go, wait, I don't want that anymore in my body. It's to help you, help you become whole, help you become who you were meant to be. And that's the thing with abuse, is we lose our identities, they get crushed. And then finding our identities, who we really are, is the greatest gift we can give to the world.
Amen. So true. You share a little bit, touch about you redefine the word of emotions. I would like to know, like, what is that?
Yes. So I reframed the idea of negative emotions, and I now think of them as teaching emotions. So they're here to teach you something about who you really are. So we have guilt and shame and sorrow and pain and hurt and unworthiness and fear and all of those emotions that we don't want to face, that we're busy numbing, distracting, running from. They're trying to get our attention. They keep like poking at us, the shame is poking at us.
They were not letting go before. You're like, I'm seeing you now.
Yeah, exactly. And so, but they're here to teach you something about who you really are. If you look at shame and joy, and then if you think of them as being two opposite sides of the coin, your shame is driving you towards your joy. If you'd only listen to it and what it has to say, and that's my technique, helps people do that. Whole person integration technique helps them look at that part of the self, but doing it from the observer. So you're not in the middle of your story, feeling totally drained, talking about the story one more time, because That's just, you start to feel like you're spinning in your story in talk therapy. And when you get to that point, it's like, okay, you need another level. So, and this was the next level I found, and why I do what I do now is helping people with that. So learning to listen to what those emotions have to say, their own thoughts, feelings, and beliefs, and what they're holding in your system, and how it's affecting your physical body when you see that whole thing. And there's something I really want to mention right here that I think is so important, because I see this all the time in my practice, is that people will come to me and they'll say, well, I'm not sick. I don't have any illnesses, but I'm an empath and a sensitive. And then as we start talking, they'll be like, well, how's your digestion? Oh, well, it's not really good at all. I'm constipated all the time. So they have these persistent symptoms, and I get these migraine headaches, and yeah, I'm depressed all the time. And then there's this thing that happens where we get so disconnected from our bodies that we can't even hear what they're trying to tell us until that gets so loud and we've gotten this chronic illness diagnosis. But those persistent symptoms, like, oh yeah, I get infections every year, and I'm on antibiotics at least 2 or 3 times a year. Those are all part of that process where your body's been so drained. Your immune system is not able to fight in the way it should. It's not able to do what it's meant to do. And so you're more vulnerable to illnesses and colds and all kinds of things. So I think that's really important to mention, because I see this all the time. You're so disconnected from your body.
You are just it's so interesting when you share about that body, because when my dad, he took his own life in 2006, the stress or the worries of all the emotions you're also sharing about was going down in my system and destroying, I don't know what the word for it, like this, like where the food is going through. And the doctor always says, exactly, they say like you have a sensitive, and it's just like, where just like, it's not only about that. It's not only about that. There's something else. Since in the past, I had so many challenges with my stomach, like, and I tried different kind of foods and all that. It's like, there's something else. And you just touch that space around to be drained about all the past. It's just like draining my whole system, and to get that healing. And this question, before you get to share about your free gift you have to the audience, is this gift, this question is so amazing. Why is food so critical for healing the body?
Oh my gosh, food is the baseline for everything that we do. It's what you put in your body to support the body to heal itself while you're going through your emotional experience. And so if you're continuing to swallow the toxins, it's breaking down your system, and it's actually making it harder for you, especially there's a major link between food and emotions.
Yeah.
And certain foods like that create anxiety, that they found in studies can create anxiety, or like food colorings and dyes, additives and preservatives, MSGs, it's like in everything, all of the processed foods.
It's so crazy.
Then there's the toxins that we're swallowing, that they spray on the plants.
Yeah.
That pesticides, the herbicides, fungicides, all of those are breaking down our system. So it's harder for us to do our emotional work, especially here in the US. It's because we're the most toxic nation on earth.
Oh, wow.
So, and that's really sad. It's really sad that our rate of chronic illness is the highest. Doesn't have to be this way. And so if you're eating foods that support the system, organic foods, fruits, vegetables, lots and lots of vegetables, and then I even, organic fish, wild caught fish, organic meats, chicken, fish, proteins, because your body doesn't produce proteins, you have to load them in. So having, we're omnivores. I'm not against veganism, or not against people being vegetarian if that's where your heart is. But the studies are just showing, that we're omnivores, and we can't change that, but we can find other ways to eat lots of plants and nuts and seeds and those kinds of things. So yeah, food's really important to help us with our healing journey. And so because it's really, you're a holistic system. Yeah. So looking at the entire package is critical to long-term success and healing.
Yeah, definitely. So Mick, Dr. Mick, you have amazing free gift to give to the audience. So can you please share a little bit around that? Like, what is that gift you have to them that is watching this interview?
I have a free ebook called The 10 Steps to Overcoming the Effects of Victimization. And then I also have a recipe book. It's anti-inflammatory recipes for people on the go. And I was a private chef to celebrities in Hollywood for like 14 years. So they're things that they're recipes that I made up for my celebrity clients. And then I also have the Adverse Childhood Experiences Study quiz. So you can see where you are on the ACE study, your score. There's 10 questions, and you can check that out. And then also I offer free consultations. So if we can talk about your ACE score and things that might be able to help you with that. And if I can't help you, I have a huge list of practitioners that I refer to that can help. Again, I'm so big on the team of healers and having a team.
I
It's
love
very
that.
important.
Thank you. So I have a question for you also, because it was so important for you to really like have the space to really share this. That is like, what if a vegan come to you as a vegan, say, hey, Dr. Mick, I need your support. I'm a vegan. Like, can they come to you, or do they come to something else? Like, would you have to believe on to be vegan, find the protein other places? Like, can they come to you?
Yeah, they can come to me. I don't tell them that, they can't. I mean, because really what I'm going to work on first with them is the emotional root cause of that illness or persistent symptoms, or just how they're storing that energy in their body. Because I find that especially people who have weight issues, or they have like anorexia or bulimia, other eating disorders, is that they need to work on the emotional root cause before they can even tackle the food, because they're using the food as the way to self-soothe and to cover the emotions. And so when we get to those first, it makes it a lot easier for them to make choices that are empowered for them. Because if you're not doing that, you're missing the most important piece of the puzzle of your health and wellness.
Oh my God, that's so interesting. My journey had been the food was the last thing for me to choose the energy. And I also choose food as addicted to pain because I have this stomach. So I know, like, my brain did know what I get to say no to. And I choose that. That was some of the addiction I had in the past. And food has been the last things for me to really like take a big step and say, okay, I need to look at this and heal the body, because the body right now did not support me. So it's so interesting when you share that, because I did all like emotion, cleaning up, healing conversations, looking at friendship, and food was the last thing for me to just like, now is the time.
Yes,
So
I know.
so
And most
interesting.
people go to the food first because they think the food's the problem. Oh, the food's the problem. I'm overeating, so I need to change my diet. And then they start doing it, they lose the weight, and then they feel horrible because they gain the weight back and then more because they didn't work on the emotional root cause.
Oh my God. It makes so
Yeah.
much sense for myself, like how
Yeah.
I have a work with myself. Food was the last thing for me to choose to work on. And now
It
it's so
really
much
is.
easier to work on. It's just so much lightness and understanding, forgiveness. If I choose something else, I forgive myself. It's so much faster because I have the skills to work with it, and also have the energy to choose what is healthy instead of what is doing my body harm.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. That, and you just said that's really important, is you have enough energy available to you and in the present moment to be able to make empowered decisions. But when your energy is still going out to past experiences and that's being held in your system, it's nearly impossible to make those choices, and you're just in the same old loop of self-punishment because you were punished your whole life, and you're just doing to yourself what was done to you because you don't know any other way. It's not like you're not bad for that. It's like, this is how you were programmed and trained. And so it's releasing that programming. So that you can make those empowered choices. So yeah.
It just makes so much sense, because I have been in the bubble in the past and judged myself because I was like working on the mind, working on the body, and also working the food. And I was always falling in with choosing something that was really doing my body harm. And I was judging myself in the past so hard. I was just like, why is this not working? And it just makes sense what you're saying, because I did not have the energy and choose to really think about like what is healthy for me in my body, in the energy, because it is an energy choice to think about what I get to eat, and I keep my body energy.
Yes, and food is energy, you know.
So interesting.
And the type of energy you're putting in there makes a big difference.
So two last questions for you. What advice would you like to give to you 20 years old you, younger you?
My 20-year-old self, basically everything I just said. I wish I had known back then. That's when the muscle spasms started, and then my digestive issues were just really peaking. And that's when I started going. I was just in and out of doctor's offices for that whole decade. I would have told my 20-year-old self, get into natural medicine, particularly emotional root cause healing first. Do that first, so that you can heal the effects that victimization, narcissistic abuse, sexual abuse, physical abuse, all of that has had on your body, so you don't continue attracting these thoughts, these feelings, beliefs, and this experience of toxicity into your life. So heal that emotional root cause, and then work on the other stuff simultaneously. And I would have been better so much faster, and I would have been able to jump into my own path of purpose a lot quicker than I did. Amazing. So anybody who's young listening, please do this for yourself. It's the greatest gift you'll ever give yourself.
Amazing. Is there something else that you like to touch base before we're ending?
Yeah, I think something that's really important is that learning to follow your own intuition and taking your healing into your own hands is one of the most powerful acts that you will make in your life. So you just make that decision. I'm going to listen on the inside and follow that voice, and everything that you need will come to you. It always does. And embracing the things that resonate. You don't have to embrace every single thing that comes your way, but developing your intuition is another really important piece of healing and getting well.
Amen. Thank you so much. So to you, audience, there's a link below this video, and also there's attached to your email. Click on that and you will receive Dr. Mick Howard. I hope I say your name last name correct, my friend. Free gift.
It's Haworth. It's fine.
Haworth, and every social media link, everything you get to know, go back and read that. And I will invite you to click on that right now after this interview, so you really take action on, because you deserve healing. You deserve the connection with Dr. Mick. You deserve her in your life. So thank you so much, Mick. It was a big blessing, and yeah, God bless you, my friend.
Welcome. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so blessed to know you. Thank you.
You're most welcome. Have an amazing day, and thank you everyone to see this amazing interview. Bye everyone.